Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman again. And for the second time today, I'm making another video. This time I want to look at the chart of Nikola Tesla. And I know I've already looked at his chart, but I wasn't completely satisfied with it. And I mean, he's such a genius that I think it takes a lot of understanding and looking to try and figure it out what really made him who he was. So let me share the chart. So I have some new insights into why Tesla was a genius and one of the maybe the biggest intellectual genius of our modern era that we know of. A true genius. And it's not so obvious. It's not like glaringly obvious why it was, nor have I heard anyone else really explain it. So it's worth really looking at. Okay, so he's got Sun, Venus, and Saturn in Cancer. And Venus is his ascendant lord, and it is combust the sun. Uh, Generally, this shows like a very, especially in Cancer, like a very sweet, caring character. But it also, when Venus is combust, I have my Venus combust the sun in Gemini in the eighth house. Especially when young, there can be a lot of difficulties because depending on what houses and triplicity lords, uh, possibly even bound or term lords, the combust Venus is going to play out and cause a lot of difficulty. Now, my experience, combust planet is going to cause a certain amount of difficulty, and then it's going to get easier and better. Like sort of like if something is burned up, when the burning happens, it's very painful. There's loss, there's difficulty, there's challenge, but then it changes. It gets better. And he did have various difficulties in life. Um, because Venus is going to represent a lot of things. So it's not just one thing or the other. So at different times, he's going to run into, a lot of different things, not just relationships, but, his brother died. My brother died. He got sick. He was like, I don't know, throughout his life, there was so many difficulties, and this is not to belabor all the different points of his life of where he ran into difficulties. You can look that up. I don't want to make this too long, but there were a lot of difficulties, and we can see several places why that might be the case. Saturn also is close enough to his ascendant lord, it's about 9 degrees, and that is also can create a lot of difficulties because this represents him, his body. And it's in the third whole sign house. Cancer is the third whole sign house, which would relate to the intellect, of course, but based on his quadrant with the MCIC being off kilter, off balance. This is the fourth house cusp. And then obviously his Mercury is in Gemini on the third house cusp. So there's a lot of intellect there. And the closeness to Saturn does bring it more towards scientific studies. Saturn and Mercury are usually associated with science, but a lot of people would have this, and they're not geniuses, right? So let's look at some other things. Venus is in a mutual reception with Moon. So that's quite good. It is a square, which is a difficult aspect, but still, mutual receptions do benefit both planets because now Venus is connected to Libra and Moon is connected to Cancer. And their significance is switching houses. So it's bringing, you could say third, because third whole sign house, or third and fourth significations into sixth. Not the sixth cusp, but it's in the sixth house. So fourth, third, fourth, and sixth. And six is good for intellectual studies because, well, it's Virgo's original house. It's the house of service to others, competition, daily mundane work, but also very analytical, critical thinking ability. So, yeah. This Mars and this Sun are actually in a lot of, have a lot of difficult, hold on, I'm just looking at the dignities. You can't see them, but I have them here. Especially this Mars and well, the Saturn too. But one of the things about it is that Mars, besides being close to the moon, which is not very good for the moon, Mars is in Libra, so opposite of its rulership in Aries. Sun's in Cancer, which is okay, but they're square to each other. Mars and Sun are square to each other, and they don't like each other's signs. Mars is debilitated in Cancer, and Sun is debilitated in Libra. So there's almost, you could say, some weird, it's not considered a mutual reception, but if you were to say, like, if you were to create a new category of mutual reception by debilitation, this would be it. Mars debilitated in Cancer, Sun is debilitated in Libra, and they're square to each other. So that's a very negative quality. So you have two mutual receptions here. One is very positive, domicile, and the other is very negative, debility, which is really strange. It's very odd that he has these two in the same houses connected to each other. It puts Mars and Moon over here in Cancer and Sun and Venus over here in Libra in the sixth house. Anyway, these are switching houses. Also, Mars is conjunct the South Node. So in Libra, which is still really interesting. And Mars is ruling, it's not ruling, but I mean, by quadrant, but it is the 12th house of imagination, of loss, of foreign lands. He did travel to foreign lands for work, sixth house. Imagination, creativity, isolation. He was very isolated throughout his life. Yeah, but also the imagination. And he does have North Node and Jupiter here in Aries. So that is good for, you know, because he has to imagine. He has to have this really strong imagination. And then, you know, Neptune in Pisces is very strong. And that is trine his sun. So that's quite good. So that is really giving him a lot of extra imagination. Let's see, Pluto is conjunct the ascendant. That's very powerful. Also, Pluto creates very deep, powerful, potent thinking ability, right? Transformation, crisis, all the Plutonic, Scorpionic themes. But the powerful, very powerful mind, deep thinking mind. Also, Uranus is in the first house, but it's not very close to the ascendant. It's 21 degrees. So that is kind of far. And we'd want to see something more, I think, if we were going to associate him with electricity, because Uranus is the planet of electricity. That's the one we'd look to for electricity, which is interesting, right? It's not super close. Like I have my Uranus conjunct the ascendant, like by 1 degree or even less than that. But I don't really have anything to do with electricity. I have a lot to do with astrology, and Uranus is the significator of astrology. But so there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite add up about his natal chart, or at least that I don't fully understand. Chiron is square the ascendant, and you can look at the square to the ascendant as the height of the sky. I forget what it's called, but there is a name for this. Like 2 degrees Aquarius would be the highest point in the sky. The MC is where the sun is at noon. So it's the most intense point for the sun. but the 2 degrees Aquarius, which is the exact square, same degree on the ascendant, you apply it to the square, the vertical square, and that's where you get the highest point in the sky. So Chiron is the highest point in the sky. And Chiron is a bit of an oddball, as you probably know. It's the wounded reject, but in a more evolved state, it becomes a healer and a teacher. So, you know, Tesla does embody the more evolved Chironic position, embodiment, right? A lot of squares here. A lot of difficulties. He died alone in a hotel. He was hit by a car. He was hit by a taxi cab, and it didn't kill him immediately, but he did die, eventually die from the wounds. Again, we could relate, you know, the Venus here combusts the sun and close enough to Saturn. Saturn is really difficult, especially in a nighttime chart. Will cause a lot of difficulties. And the squares to Mars. And, you know, obviously not the moon, but then it puts the, you know, if we take, you know, the Venus to be trading places with moon, then it puts it right next to Mars, and a very unhappy Mars at that. But let's look at another aspect. Also, the nodes are stationary, so not sure what that means, but if we're going to make any significance out of that, it could be that his destiny was more potent. And that is true. He did have a very strong, powerful destiny. Let's see, Jupiter is ruling the 8th whole sign house and the 8th house cusp, in the 11th house, in the 12th house. Hopes, wishes, dreams in foreign lands, you could say. 8th house and 12th house is good. When the malefic houses go into each other's house, 6, 8, 12, it produces generally good results. Difficult, challenging things turn out good. Positive results from challenging things, generally speaking. Jupiter's not great in Aries, but it is the one of the triplicity rulers. It's the nighttime triplicity ruler, so it does gain strength here. Foreign lands, luck in foreign lands, benefits out of, you know, creative things. 12th house matters, the subconscious mind, things like that. But when things really come together is when you look at his Draconic chart, and if you've been watching it in my videos, you know that I've been getting really into the Draconic chart. I think it adds a whole nother dimension, and it really makes sense out of otherwise. Only, you know, you can't get everything out of the natal chart. Natal charts don't provide everything. One thing about the natal chart, which I forgot to mention, if we look at the speed of Mercury, it is slow. Mercury is slow. It's 6 days from station, and that means it's at 35 minutes per day. Mine is slower, so that obviously doesn't mean it. I mean, stationary planets do show a lot, and a stationary planet will show a great ability to focus. And you see this sometimes among famous people, that they have stationary planets in very prominent houses that really explain a certain skill or genius or whatever. But that doesn't explain everything about Tesla. It does add to it. The slower Mercury will mean a more focused Mercury, ability to think more cleanly and clearly. But like I said, mine's slower, and I'm no Tesla. I'm not trying to, you know, and there are a lot of people who have slower, and I do have drawing skills, have good thinking ability. But this Draconic chart, you can probably already tell, is really interesting. All right, first of all, let's look at the ascendant. I'm sorry. Bam, Uranus, right on the ascendant, within 1 degree, and right above Pluto. So now the ascendant is becoming really powerful because it's got the natal Pluto and the Draconic Uranus. And the Uranus does definitely have to do with electricity. So we'd want to see electricity. I mean, if I didn't know anything about Tesla's chart, but I wanted to guess, okay, what does he have? I see Uranus, prominent, right? Well, we see it in the Draconic chart. Now let's go down and we see Mercury's still in Gemini, but so is Saturn, so is Venus, and so is Sun. Well, it's in the second house, but third house cusp, right? Mercury's still on the third house cusp. So this is second, third. Second house knowledge, third house intellect. So for a whole Gemini stellium, 4 planets, and then Sun is right over Mercury, reinforcing that Mercury, right? Making it all that much stronger. The brightness is lighting up the Mercury. Intellect, superpower. I mean, I don't know anyone that has, not that I've seen everyone's analysis. Maybe there could be people who just do a way better job of explaining his natal chart than I do. I don't claim to be like the best astrologer or whatever. Not yet, anyway. But this makes so much sense to me. I mean, Mercury's still in domicile. It's conjunct Saturn in Mercury, which is science. Ascendant Lord and Sun, all in Gemini, really being charged up by Mercury. Mercury is not only the domicile Lord, it's also the triplicity Lord. And Saturn is also it is the second triplicity Lord. Right. And then if we look at the dignities, which you can't see, it's exchanging places with Jupiter on the term. It's got a mutual reception with Jupiter by term or bounds. So now Jupiter's coming into the mix. Yeah. Venus and Saturn are in each other's terms. So Saturn has good dignity by being in Venus's bounds. Venus is okay, but they're exchanging places. That's fine. Minor, just making it more dynamic and interesting. Let's see, Moon and Mars in Virgo. So Virgo, again, ruled by Mercury. This Mercury, both Mercuries, by the way, have excellent dignity. Because triplicity, and it's a nighttime chart, so they're gaining triplicity and domicile. And by house, well, at least here it's in the third house, so it's for the intellect. And then Sun is on the third house cusp, so is Venus. And then Moon in Virgo, Mars in Virgo, so Virgo is very much strengthened here. I guess this would be the fifth house, so education. Fifth house is still quite good. Trying not the ascendant because the degrees are off, but the first house. There's not really reception here. By square, by sign and square, then yeah, but still. Virgo is very strong. Let's see here. Jupiter in Pisces over Neptune in Pisces in the 11th house. So hopes, wishes, dreams, big thinking. And he was, right? It wasn't just about his brilliance. He was also a very a spiritual man, like evolved man, like he was good willing it, like he had tons of patents. He didn't mind if other people used his patents because he was a big character, like a big heart, very generous. And he wanted to give free electricity to the world. That's very much 11th house with, Jupiter and Pisces and strong dignity. Pisces is very spiritual, very imaginative. This makes total sense. 11th house is very big-minded because it's thinking about all of society. It's not selfish. It wants the best for society. right? Ascendant and Pluto in the 12th house in Aries. So again, just reinforcing that 12th house creativity, imagination, foreign lands, 12th house themes. But this really makes sense, and it adds so much credence to Nikola Tesla's brilliance. Strong mercurial influence in the Draconic chart with Uranus right on the ascendant. Brilliant, brilliant. We're not getting this from the natal chart, and it's just like it didn't quite add up, didn't quite make sense, but now it does. And so does, so this Uranus, the Gemini stellium, Moon and Mars uh, in Virgo, which Moon has triplicity rulership over Earth signs at night, and Mars is also a triplicity ruler, so there's some dignity there. And yeah, and then the Jupiter over Neptune in the 11th house. Neptune is in Pisces here in both. So again, Neptune, very Neptunian, very strong Jupiter, especially in the Draconic chart. So it really adds up. So I just wanted to throw this out there for any Nikola Tesla fans who are also astrologers. Look at your Draconic chart. It really will add another dimension that so far I've not seen one Draconic chart that doesn't really explain the person in much greater dimension and add so much to who they are. So yeah, I thought this was great, brilliant to see that. Anyway, as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, share, book a reading with me at go to my website, macroastrology.com, or just write me an email at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com and comment, and I will see you again soon. All right, thanks, bye.